The rain pounds against the window, setting the stage for what's about to unfold. Imagine this. An old letter arrives, its message pulling you into something much darker than you ever expected. Secrets, forgotten rituals, and a necropolis filled with lost souls. But here's the real question. Would you risk it? What if the answer you're looking for could change everything? In the next few minutes, we'll dive deep into a mystery that's been buried for years, and the revelations might just leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. The rain hammered against my window, a relentless rhythm that matched the quickening pulse in my chest. I leaned back in my chair, the soft creak of the wood beneath me barely audible over the storm's fury. The flickering light from my desk lamp cast long shadows on the walls, and for a moment I felt as if the darkness was crawling toward me, eager to envelop me in its embrace. It was the kind of night that whispered secrets and stirred the imagination, and as I stared at the envelope resting on my desk, I couldn't shake the feeling that it held something sinister. I took a deep breath and reached for the envelope, its rough texture scratching against my fingertips. The handwriting was elegant, almost archaic, and the wax seal bore an insignia I didn't recognize. My heart raced as I recalled the stories that circulated in our small town about the old necropolis on the outskirts, about the cults that once thrived there, the rituals shrouded in darkness, and the spirits that were said to roam the grounds. "Ethan? You in there?" A voice called from outside my room, breaking through the storm's roar. It was Mia, my best friend and an aspiring journalist with an insatiable curiosity that often led us into trouble. I glanced around my cluttered room, the familiar chaos of textbooks and half-finished projects momentarily forgotten as I tore open the envelope. "What is it, Mia?" I called back, my voice tinged with excitement and trepidation. "Just making sure you're not dead or something," she replied, her tone teasing. "You've been holed up in there for hours." With a swift motion, I extracted the letter from the envelope, my eyes scanning the elegant script. The words sent chills down my spine. "Dear seeker of truth, you are cordially invited to explore the secrets of the old necropolis. The spirits are restless, and their stories await. Come alone or bring a friend, but beware, what you uncover may change everything." A friend. I couldn't help but chuckle darkly at the invitation's tone. "Yeah, right," I muttered to myself, my mind racing with possibilities. "Ethan." Mia's voice broke through my thoughts, and I quickly stuffed the letter into my pocket as I opened the door. "What are you hiding?" She peered into my room, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. "Nothing," I said, forcing a casual smile. "Just school stuff." "Liar," she replied, crossing her arms. "I can tell when you're hiding something. Spill it." Okay, I relented, glancing back at my desk before stepping into the hallway. "I got this mysterious letter inviting me to the necropolis." Her eyes lit up with intrigue, a glimmer of excitement cutting through the storm's gloom. "The necropolis? Seriously? What does it say?" I recounted the contents of the letter, my heart racing with every word. Mia listened intently, her expression shifting from curiosity to fascination. "We have to go. This is the perfect story for me." She bounced on her heels, her enthusiasm infectious. "Are you kidding?" I replied, trying to temper her excitement. "You remember what happened to those kids who went missing there years ago? It's not just a story, Mia. It's dangerous. Or it's a chance to uncover something incredible," she countered, her eyes sparkling with determination. "Think about it. If we can find out what really happened, we could write an article that changes everything for us." Lucas, our other friend, appeared at the end of the hallway, his brow furrowed with concern. "What's all the commotion about?" he asked, glancing between us. "Mia wants to investigate the necropolis," I said, crossing my arms. Lucas's expression shifted to one of disbelief. "You're not serious, are you? That place is cursed. People have gone in and never come out. What's wrong with you too?" "Come on, Lucas," Mia pleaded, her voice rising. "This could be our chance to do something amazing. I need you to back me up on this." "Or maybe I need to stop you from doing something stupid," he retorted, shaking his head. "You're both going to get hurt, or worse." "Look, I get it. It's creepy, and there are stories about it being haunted," I tried to reason with him. "But isn't it worth checking out, just to see if the legends are true?" Lucas rubbed the back of his neck, torn between caution and the allure of adventure. "I don't know, man. Maybe we should just leave it alone. Some things are better left undiscovered. Don't you want to know what happened to those kids? Mia pressed, her determination unwavering. If we can find any clues, we might help their families get closure. The storm outside intensified, and for a moment, the air was thick with tension, each of us wrestling with our thoughts. Finally, Lucas sighed, his shoulders slumping in defeat. Fine, but if we go, we need to be smart about it. We go in, we get what we need, and we get out. Agreed? Agreed. Mia chimed, her excitement reignited. I nodded, feeling a mix of anxiety and anticipation. We made our plans quickly. As the wind howled outside, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were stepping into a trap, lured by the promise of secrets buried in the shadows of the past. The rain pelted against the windows like a warning, but the thrill of the unknown was too intoxicating to resist. Later that night, we gathered in my living room, flashlights and cameras in hand. The atmosphere was electric, a blend of excitement and fear that buzzed in the air like static. Mia meticulously checked her camera, ensuring the battery was charged and ready for action. Lucas paced the room, glancing at the clock, his nerves palpable. Are you sure we should be doing this? He asked for what felt like the 100th time. Absolutely, Mia replied, her voice steady. We'll be fine. We stick together and we keep our wits about us. It's just an old building, right? Yeah, an old building with a bad reputation, Lucas muttered, finally settling into a chair. I just hope we don't end up as the next chapter in its story. With that ominous thought hanging in the air, we set out into the storm. The rain soaked us almost immediately, the cold drops seeping through our clothes as we made our way toward the necropolis. The wind howled like a beast, and the trees swayed ominously, their branches clawing at the sky as if trying to escape. As we approached the old structure, the moon broke through the clouds, casting an eerie glow over the weathered stones. The ancient architecture loomed above us, its crumbling walls whispering tales of long-forgotten rituals and lives lost to time. I felt a shiver run down my spine, the weight of the place pressing down on my chest. Are you sure this is a good idea? Lucas asked, hesitating at the foot of the decaying steps. I exchanged a glance with Mia, who nodded with determination. We can't turn back now. With a deep breath, we climbed the steps, the wood creaking beneath our weight. The door creaked open, revealing a darkness that seemed to breathe, as if the necropolis itself were alive, waiting for our intrusion. As we stepped inside, I felt a palpable shift in the air. The shadows danced around us, and the silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of the rain pounding against the roof. I could almost hear the echoes of the past, the whispers of those who had come before us, and I wondered if we were about to awaken something that should have remained undisturbed. Are you ready? Mia asked, her voice steady despite the fear that clung to us like a shroud. Ready as I'll ever be, I replied, my heart racing as we ventured deeper into the darkness. The adventure had begun, but little did we know that the true horrors of the necropolis awaited us, lurking just beyond the shadows. The air inside the necropolis was thick with dust and the scent of decay, an unsettling reminder that we had stepped into a world long forgotten. As I ventured deeper, my fingers brushed against the cold, crumbling stone walls, where bizarre symbols were etched into the surface, their meanings lost to time. Shadows danced in the corners of my vision, but I dismissed them as tricks of my mind, fueled by the creeping dread that settled in my stomach. Mia, are you getting this? I called out, glancing back at her as she snapped pictures with her camera, the flash illuminating the darkness in brief bursts. Her excitement was palpable, her eyes gleaming with the thrill of the unknown. Of course, this place is incredible, she replied, her voice echoing slightly against the barren walls. These symbols, they look like they're part of some ancient ritual. I bet there's a story behind all of this. Lucas, trailing behind us, shifted nervously, glancing around as if the shadows themselves might spring to life. I don't know, guys. This feels wrong. We should just leave while we can. Leave? And miss out on the chance of a lifetime? Mia shot back, her enthusiasm unfazed by Lucas's unease. This could be the story that puts us on the map. I turned my attention back to the altar at the center of the room. It was a heavy stone slab, worn and cracked, with an ancient tome lying open on its surface. The pages were yellowed, the ink fading, but the words seemed to pulse with a life of their own. I reached out, my fingers trembling slightly as I brushed against the pages. "Hey, check this out," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Mia approached, peering over my shoulder. "What does it say?" "I can't make out all of it, but it looks like some sort of incantation," I replied, my heart racing with a mix of excitement and dread. "It mentions sacrifices? Rituals to summon spirits?" Lucas stepped closer, his brows furrowing in concern. "Ethan, you shouldn't be messing with that. We have no idea what we're dealing with." "Come on, Lucas, where's your sense of adventure?" I shot back, but even as I said the words, a shiver ran down my spine. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching us, lurking just beyond the reach of our flickering flashlights. Suddenly, a soft whisper floated through the air, barely audible, but chilling nonetheless. "Help us." It was a voice filled with sorrow echoing through the cavernous space. My breath caught in my throat, and I exchanged a worried glance with Mia. "Did you hear that?" I asked, my heart pounding. Mia nodded, her excitement replaced by an unsettling awareness. "Yeah, it sounded like it came from deeper inside." Lucas shook his head, his face paling. "I think we should go. Now." But before he could pivot to leave, Mia grabbed his arm, her grip surprisingly firm. "No, Lucas, we can't leave now. We've come this far. What if there's something important here? Something that could explain what happened to those kids?" He hesitated, clearly torn between his fear and the allure of the unknown. "You don't understand, Mia. People went missing here. This place is dangerous." "Mia, what if we just take a quick look?" I suggested, hoping to ease the tension. "We won't be long. Just a few minutes." "Fine," Lucas relented, though his eyes betrayed his reluctance. "But if anything feels off, we're out of here." I called out, glancing back at her as she snapped pictures with her camera, the flash illuminating the darkness in brief bursts. Her excitement was palpable, her eyes gleaming with the thrill of the unknown. "Of course! This place is incredible," she replied, her voice echoing slightly against the barren walls. "These symbols, they look like they're part of some ancient ritual. I bet there's a story behind all of this." Lucas, trailing behind us, shifted nervously, glancing around as if the shadows themselves might spring to life. "I don't know, guys. This feels wrong. We should just leave while we can." "Leave? And miss out on the chance of a lifetime?" Mia shot back, her enthusiasm unfazed by Lucas's unease. "This could be the story that puts us on the map." I turned my attention back to the altar at the center of the room. It was a heavy stone slab, worn and cracked, with an ancient tome lying open on its surface. The pages were yellowed, the ink fading, but the words seemed to pulse with a life of their own. I reached out, my fingers trembling slightly as I brushed against the pages. "Hey, check this out," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Mia approached, peering over my shoulder. "What does it say?" "I can't make out all of it, but it looks like some sort of incantation," I replied, my heart racing with a mix of excitement and dread. "It mentions sacrifices? Rituals to summon spirits?" Lucas stepped closer, his brows furrowing in concern. "Ethan, you shouldn't be messing with that. We have no idea what we're dealing with." "Come on, Lucas, where's your sense of adventure?" I shot back, but even as I said the words, a shiver ran down my spine. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching us, lurking just beyond the reach of our flickering flashlights. Suddenly, a soft whisper floated through the air, barely audible but chilling nonetheless. "Help us." It was a voice filled with sorrow, echoing through the cavernous space. My breath caught in my throat, and I exchanged a worried glance with Mia. "Did you hear that?" I asked, my heart pounding. Mia nodded, her excitement replaced by an unsettling awareness. "Yeah, it sounded like it came from deeper inside." Lucas shook his head, his face paling. "I think we should go, now." But before he could pivot to leave, Mia grabbed his arm, her grip surprisingly firm. "No, Lucas, we can't leave now. We've come this far. What if there's something important here? Something that could explain what happened to those kids?" He hesitated, clearly torn between his fear and the allure of the unknown. "You don't understand, Mia. People went missing here. This place is dangerous." "Mia, what if we just take a quick look?" I suggested, hoping to ease the tension. "We won't be long. Just a few minutes." "Fine," Lucas relented, though his eyes betrayed his reluctance. "But if anything feels off, we're out of here." Panic surged through my veins as I fumbled for my flashlight, the beam cutting through the gloom like a lifeline. "Mia, I shouted, but my voice echoed back at me, swallowed by the shadows. The air was electric, charged with energy that made my skin crawl. "Ethan," she cried, her voice shaky but determined. "We need to get out of here. Now." I turned to Lucas, who was backing away from the altar, his eyes wide with fear. "This isn't right. We shouldn't have come here." As if in response to our fear, the whispers crescendoed, swirling around us like a storm. "Free us. Help us." The atmosphere thickened, and I could feel the weight of unseen eyes upon us, judging, waiting. I glanced at Mia, who was still transfixed by the photographs, her fingers trembling as she reached out to touch them. "Mia, we can't stay here," I urged, trying to pull her away from the altar. "We need to go before it's too late." But as I spoke, the whispers morphed into a piercing wail, echoing through the chamber, and the temperature dropped further, sending chills racing through my body. I felt a pull at my very core, as if the necropolis itself was alive, and it didn't want us to leave. "Mia, please," I shouted, desperation clawing at my throat. "We have to go." With a sudden burst of determination, she stepped back from the altar, shaking her head as if waking from a trance. "You're right, we need to go, now." As we rushed toward the door, the whispers turned into a cacophony of voices, pleading, crying, and shrieking in unison. It felt as if the very walls were closing in, trying to trap us within their dark embrace. Lucas pushed against the door, panic etched on his face. "It's locked. We're trapped." "No," Mia cried, her voice breaking. "We can't be trapped here." Desperation surged through me as I banged my fists against the door, shouting for it to open. The whispers grew louder, drowning out my voice, and the room trembled as if responding to our fear. "Help us. Free us." And in that moment, I understood. We weren't just intruders. We were part of a story far older than ourselves, caught in a web of darkness that refused to let us go. Time stood still as I braced myself for whatever came next, knowing that our curiosity had led us into a nightmare from which we might never awaken. The darkness of the necropolis enveloped us as we set up camp in one of the larger chambers, the air thick with an unsettling chill. Flickering candlelight cast elongated shadows that danced eerily across the walls, illuminating the strange symbols and carvings that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. I could feel the weight of history pressing down on us, each breath a reminder of the countless souls that had walked these halls long before we ever dared to enter. "Are you sure we should stay here?" Lucas asked, his voice barely above a whisper. He was sitting cross-legged on the cold stone floor, his eyes wide with apprehension. "This place gives me the creeps." Mia, ever the adventurous spirit, grinned at him. "Come on, Lucas. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. Imagine the story we could tell. Just think about it. 3 friends uncover the dark secrets of the necropolis. It'll make for an amazing article." I glanced down at the tome I had been reading since we arrived. The book was ancient, its pages yellowed and fragile, filled with strange illustrations and indecipherable text that seemed to vibrate under my fingertips. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was calling to me, drawing me deeper into its secrets. Mia's right. We need to document everything. This place is a treasure trove of history. "Yeah, but at what cost?" Lucas shot back, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "What if we disturb something that shouldn't be disturbed? You heard the stories about the teenagers who went missing here." I could see the fear etched on his face, and part of me felt it too. The weight of the unknown was heavy, pressing against my chest. But curiosity tugged at me, and I couldn't help but feel that we were meant to uncover whatever lay hidden in the shadows. "Look," I said, trying to reassure him. "We'll stick together. If anything feels off, we leave, I promise." Mia nodded emphatically, her excitement palpable. "Exactly. This is our chance to make history. We can't turn back now." As the night deepened, we settled in, and I continued to sift through the tome. The more I read, the more I felt an unsettling connection to the words. It was as if they were weaving a spell around me, pulling me deeper into their world. I caught snippets of text referring to rituals, sacrifices, and the restless spirits that roamed these halls, trapped in an endless cycle of despair. "Ethan," Mia called, breaking my concentration. "Can you help me set up the camera? I want to capture any paranormal activity we might encounter." "Sure," I replied, reluctantly closing the tome. I felt a pang of loss as I set it aside, but I knew documenting our experience was important. Together, we arranged the camera to capture the chamber, setting it to record. As we prepared, the atmosphere shifted. A cold breeze swept through the room, chilling me to the bone. I exchanged a glance with Lucas, who looked equally uneasy. "Did you feel that?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. "Yeah," I admitted, eyebrows knitting together. "It's like the temperature just dropped." "Maybe it's just a draft," Mia suggested, though I could see the flicker of doubt in her eyes. She was trying to maintain her bravado, but the fear was creeping in. "Or maybe it's something else," Lucas murmured, glancing around the dark corners of the chamber as if expecting something to leap out at us. "Come on, guys," I said, trying to lighten the mood. "We came here for a reason. Let's not let a little chill scare us off." Just as I finished speaking, a loud crash echoed from somewhere deeper in the necropolis, the sound reverberating through the stone walls. Our hearts raced as we exchanged panicked looks, the laughter and bravado from moments earlier evaporating into thin air. "What was that?" Mia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know," I replied, adrenaline coursing through me. "But we need to check it out." Lucas hesitated, glancing toward the dark corridor leading deeper into the necropolis. "Are you sure that's a good idea? We don't know what's down there." "We can't just sit here," I insisted, moving toward the sound. "It could be another clue. We have to find out." Mia followed closely behind, her camera ready in hand, while Lucas trailed hesitantly, his eyes darting nervously around the room. The air was thick with tension as we moved cautiously down the narrow passageway, our footsteps echoing ominously in the silence. As we rounded a corner, I spotted a faint light flickering in the distance. My heart raced as we approached, the glow illuminating a door partially ajar. "There," I pointed, excitement bubbling within me. "What do you think is behind it?" Mia asked, peering over my shoulder. "I don't know, but we have to find out," I replied, pushing the door open slowly. It creaked ominously, the sound sending shivers down my spine. Inside, the room was dimly lit, revealing a dusty staircase that spiraled downward into darkness. A sense of foreboding washed over me, but the allure of discovery propelled me forward. "We should go down," I suggested, the thrill of adventure battling against the gnawing fear in my gut. "Ethan, wait," Lucas said, grabbing my arm. "What if we're walking into a trap? We should think this through." I could see the panic in his eyes, but I felt an undeniable pull toward the staircase. "We can't turn back now," I said, my voice firm. "If there's even a chance of uncovering the truth, we have to risk it." Reluctantly, Lucas released his grip, and we descended the stairs, the air growing colder with every step. The flickering light above us faded into darkness, and I felt a growing sense of dread as if the shadows were closing in. We reached the bottom of the stairs and found ourselves in a narrow tunnel, the walls slick with moisture. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and I could hear the distant sound of water dripping somewhere in the darkness. "Are you sure we should be here?" Lucas whispered, his voice trembling. "This could lead to something significant," I replied, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "Just stay close." As we ventured further into the tunnel, the oppressive silence weighed heavily on us, punctuated only by the sound of our footsteps echoing off the stone walls. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. "Do you think we'll find the spirits?" Mia asked, her voice barely audible. I didn't answer. Instead, I pressed on, drawn deeper into the darkness, the tome's words echoing in my mind. The sense of urgency propelled me forward, but I had no idea what awaited us in the shadows ahead. The air in the underground chamber felt thick, almost suffocating, as I stepped into the vast space. My heart raced, not just from the adrenaline of exploration, but from the oppressive weight of sorrow and anger that seemed to seep from the very walls. The flickering beam of my flashlight danced nervously over the gruesome sight that lay before us. A macabre collection of bones and remnants from past ceremonies, arranged in a way that suggested a ritualistic purpose. The faint scent of decay lingered, mixing with the damp earth, and for a moment I felt like I was intruding on a sacred gravesite. "Ethan, this place is..." "It's horrific," I whispered, barely able to keep my voice steady. My eyes darted around, searching for any sign of movement, any indication that we were not alone. The silence was deafening, broken only by the distant sound of water dripping somewhere in the darkness. "I know," Ethan replied, his tone barely masking the thrill in his voice. He had always been the most adventurous of us, and I could see the excitement glimmering in his eyes as he took in the scene. "This is what we came for, right? To uncover the truth?" Lucas, who had remained unusually quiet, finally spoke up, his voice tinged with anxiety. "Guys, I think we should head back. This doesn't feel right. We shouldn't be here." His eyes were wide, reflecting the fear that we all felt but were too stubborn to admit. "We can't leave now," I insisted, my determination hardening. "Not after everything we've seen. If there's even a chance that we can understand what happened to those kids." I trailed off, thinking of the photographs we had found earlier, the smiling faces of teenagers whose lives had been cut short. I could feel a connection forming, a thread that pulled me deeper into the darkness. Suddenly, a cold breeze swept through the chamber, causing the hairs on my arms to stand on end. I caught a glimpse of movement in the shadows, and my heart lurched as I squinted into the darkness. Then I heard it, a faint whisper, like a soft sigh echoing through the chamber. "Help us." "Did you hear that?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "They want help. Who wants help?" Lucas asked, looking around nervously. "This could be a trap. We need to leave." He grabbed my arm, trying to pull me back, but I shook him off. "Wait. Listen." I could feel it now, the weight of their presence, the desperate need of those who had been wronged. I stepped closer to the center of the chamber, where a circle of bones lay scattered, and the whispers grew louder, more insistent. Ethan was beside me, his expression one of rapt fascination. "What if we can communicate with them?" he suggested, his eyes glowing with a mix of fear and excitement. He pulled the ancient tome from his backpack, the pages worn and fragile. "There must be something in here that can help us." "Ethan, are you serious?" Lucas replied, his voice rising. "We don't know what that book is capable of. It could be dangerous. Or it could be our only chance to uncover the truth," Ethan countered, flipping through the pages. I could see the determination etched on his face, and despite Lucas's protests, I felt myself being drawn to Ethan's fervor. "What do you think they want?" I asked, my eyes scanning the chamber, searching for any sign of the spirits that lingered just out of sight. "Maybe they need us to complete a ritual," Ethan mused, his voice low and intense, "or to set them free." "Or maybe they want us to join them," Lucas said, his voice laced with skepticism. "This isn't a game, guys. We could be playing with forces we don't understand." But I was already entranced by the idea. "What if we can help them?" I said softly, my heart racing at the thought. "What if we can give them peace?" Ethan nodded, his gaze locked on the tome. "I think I can find something here. Just give me a moment." He began to read aloud, his voice steady and rhythmic, weaving through the ancient words that felt foreign on his tongue. The air around us shifted, charged with energy, and I could feel the temperature drop. The whispers grew stronger, wrapping around us like a cold blanket. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a girl no older than 16, her translucent form shimmering like a mirage. My breath caught in my throat as I recognized her face. It was Sarah, a girl from my childhood who had disappeared years ago. "Mia," she whispered, her voice barely audible yet filled with a haunting sorrow. "Sarah?" I stepped forward, my heart racing. "Is it really you?" "Yes," she said, her eyes wide and filled with an otherworldly light. "Help us, Mia. We're trapped in the past. You must break the cycle." "Cycle? What cycle?" I asked, desperate for answers. The air felt heavy, and I could sense the urgency in her voice. "The rituals, they never ended. We are bound to this place, to our pain. You have to stop them." Her gaze flickered to Ethan, who was still reciting the incantations from the tome, oblivious to the chaos he was unleashing. "Ethan, stop!" Lucas shouted, reaching out to pull him away. But it was too late. The energy in the chamber surged, and the shadows danced around us, growing restless and angry. "No," Ethan shouted, his voice rising above the cacophony. "I can't stop now. I need to understand." As the spirits became more agitated, I felt a sudden rush of energy that knocked me off my feet. The chamber trembled violently, the walls shaking as if the very foundation of the necropolis was crumbling. I grabbed onto the nearest bone pile, trying to steady myself as Lucas struggled to pull Ethan back. "Ethan, we need to leave," Lucas yelled, panic rising in his voice. This isn't safe. Don't you see? Ethan's eyes were wild, his voice almost feverish. We're on the brink of something incredible. We can uncover what happened here. But Sarah's spirit flickered, her face twisted in anguish. You must listen to her, Ethan, she cried. You don't understand the darkness you're awakening. Ethan, I screamed, desperation clawing at my throat. You're losing control. You have to stop. He hesitated, his grip on the tome faltering as the energy around us swirled violently. The shadows began to take form, restless spirits rising from the depths of despair, their faces contorted in sorrow and rage. I could feel their pain, their anger, and it pierced through me like 1,000 icy daggers. Help us, they whispered, their voices merging into a haunting chorus. Help us, or suffer the consequences. As the chamber trembled, I knew we were standing on the edge of something monumental, a precipice that could either lead us to salvation or plunge us into eternal darkness. I glanced at Lucas, his face pale with fear, and then back at Ethan, who was teetering on the brink of madness. The whispers grew louder, drowning out my thoughts, and I felt my resolve begin to waver. Ethan! I cried, reaching for him. Please, listen to me. But as I did, I felt a surge of energy that sent me sprawling backward, and the last thing I saw before everything went black was Ethan's eyes, wide and filled with an intensity I had never seen before, as he began to chant the final incantation. The darkness enveloped us as we regained consciousness, our surroundings warped into a grotesque imitation of the necropolis we had entered. The walls pulsed with a dull, sickly light, and the air was thick with a suffocating energy that made every breath feel like a struggle. I blinked several times, trying to shake off the disorientation, but the sight before me only deepened my confusion. Ethan? Lucas? I called out, my voice trembling as I glanced around. The familiar faces of my friends were lost among the shadows, and an unsettling feeling settled in my stomach. The remnants of the cult's rituals loomed around us like a twisted gallery, but the figures that danced in the corners of my vision were not mere memories. They were the trapped spirits of the past, caught in an endless loop of their last moments. Mia! Lucas's voice cut through the haze, and I turned to see him crouched beside Ethan, who lay sprawled on the ground, his face contorted in a mix of fear and fury. What the hell happened? Where are we? I think we're still in the necropolis, but it's different now. I took a hesitant step toward them. Everything feels wrong. Ethan stirred, his eyes fluttering open, but the light in them seemed dimmed, clouded. The tome? It's powerful, he muttered, almost deliriously as he struggled to sit up. It's trying to show us something. Show us what? Lucas asked, his voice low, filled with an urgency that mirrored my own rising panic. The spirits, Ethan said, his gaze distant, as if he were looking through us. They're trapped here. We have to help them. Help them? How? I shot back, my heart racing. We're the ones who got pulled into this nightmare. What do we even know about freeing them? Ethan shook his head, trying to focus. I don't know yet, but if we don't figure this out, they'll never find peace. We won't either. As he spoke, I felt an icy chill creep down my spine. The walls around us seemed to breathe, and the whispers of the spirits grew louder, swirling around us like a storm. Mia, a voice called, soft yet heart-wrenching. I turned sharply, half expecting to see one of the spirits, but the figure was shrouded in mist. Who's there? I called out, dread pooling in my stomach. A flicker of light coalesced in front of me, and my breath caught in my throat. It was her, my childhood friend, Lily, the girl who had vanished years ago. Mia! She whispered again, and I felt tears prick my eyes. You have to listen. Lily? My voice trembled as I took a cautious step forward. What happened? Why are you here? The cult, she said, her form flickering like a dying flame. They took us. They wanted our souls for their dark rituals. You must find a way to break the cycle. Only then can we be free. How do we do that? I pressed, desperation clawing at my heart. What do we need? The tome, she breathed, her eyes filled with a sorrow I couldn't comprehend. It holds the key, but Ethan must resist its call. He's losing himself to its power. I glanced at Ethan, who was now staring at the tome in his hands, a look of rapture on his face. Ethan, please. You need to fight it, I pleaded, stepping between him and the swirling energy that surrounded us. We have to break this cycle together. Together, he repeated, almost mechanically. But it's so beautiful. It promises so much. Stop! Lucas shouted, rushing forward and grabbing Ethan's shoulders. "You're not thinking straight. This isn't a gift, it's a curse." Ethan's gaze flickered back to us, and for a moment I saw the boy I knew, the one who laughed at silly things and shared secrets under the stars. "I can feel them, Mia. They're here, calling for me. It's intoxicating." "Intoxicating or not, you're risking everything," I argued, my voice rising in urgency. "We need you with us, not lost in some dark fantasy. Lily deserves peace, and so do you." The air crackled with tension as the spirits began to swirl around us. I could feel their sorrow, their anger, and their desperation seeping into my bones. They were pleading for release, and it was our responsibility to give it to them. I turned back to Lily, who nodded encouragingly, a soft smile gracing her ephemeral features. "Disrupt the ritual," she urged. "You must find the heart of their darkness. It's in the chamber where they perform their final ceremony." "Right?" Lucas said, determination flaring in his eyes. "Let's move." "Ethan, can you fight it? We need you to help us." Ethan's face twisted with inner turmoil, but he nodded, albeit hesitantly. "I'll try, but I can't promise anything." "Just focus on us," I said, wrapping my hand around his arm. "We're in this together." As we pushed forward, the warped corridors of the necropolis shifted around us, leading us deeper into the bowels of the structure. The whispers grew louder, more frantic, urging us to turn back, to give in to the despair that lingered in the air. "Stay close," I instructed as we moved through the dark, my heart pounding with each step. "We can't let the spirits overwhelm us." "Do you really think we can break this?" Lucas asked, glancing over his shoulder at the swirling shadows. "We have to," I replied, more for myself than for him. For Lily, and for all of them. At last, we reached a heavy door, ancient and adorned with symbols that pulsed with dark energy. Ethan stepped forward, his hands trembling as he placed them on the door. "This is it. The chamber. Are you ready?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He took a deep breath and nodded. With a push, the door creaked open, revealing a vast chamber filled with remnants of the past. Bones, shattered altars, and flickering shadows of spirits caught in their last moments of life. The air was thick with anguish, and I felt the weight of their sorrow pressing down on us. "Find the heart," I reminded Ethan, but as I spoke, I could see his resolve wavering. The tome in his grasp began to vibrate, and I could sense the dark energy pouring into him, trying to claim him as its own. "Ethan," I cried, reaching for him. "Don't let it take you." He looked at me, eyes wide with fear and confusion, but there was something else there too, a flicker of determination. I won't let it win," he vowed, his voice shaky but resolute. As we stepped further into the chamber, the spirits began to gather, their forms shifting and swirling, creating a tempest of anguish. "You must end it," they screamed in unison, their voices echoing through the chamber. I felt a rush of adrenaline as we moved deeper into the chaos, desperately searching for the heart of the ritual. As the spirits closed in around us, I could feel their pain resonating in my bones. "We can do this," I shouted, clenching my fists. "We will break the cycle." The air crackled with energy as we stood together, the weight of the spirits pressing in around us. But even as we fought to keep our resolve, I could sense the darkness coiling around Ethan, threatening to pull him under. "We need to act fast," Lucas urged, glancing at the swirling shadows. "What's the plan?" "Disrupt their energy," I shouted, my mind racing. "Ethan, use the tome. We have to channel it against their power." As Ethan opened the tome, the pages fluttered wildly, and I could see the symbols glowing with a dark light. "It's too strong," he gasped, struggling to hold on. "I can feel it trying to take me." "Fight it! You're stronger than this," I shouted, reaching for him again. "Remember us. Remember what we're fighting for." With every ounce of strength I had, I pushed against the tide of darkness, feeling the energy of the spirits swirl around us, their desperation feeding my determination. Lucas stood at my side, his voice steady as he called out to the spirits, urging them to unite with us. "Together, for Lily, for everyone," he shouted, his words cutting through the chaos. As we focused our energies, I felt a surge of power rise within us, uniting our wills against the darkness. Ethan's hands trembled, but he began to recite the incantation, his voice growing stronger as it echoed through the chamber. "Break the cycle," I cried, feeling the energy of the spirits coalescing around us. "We will set you free." And in that moment, as the words left my lips, I felt a connection, a bond that transcended time and space. The spirits surged forward, their energy mingling with ours as we pushed against the darkness, desperate to shatter the chains that bound them. Together, we shouted as one. Light erupted from the tome, illuminating the chamber and pushing back against the shadows. I could see the spirits beginning to break free, their faces lighting up with hope as they floated toward the light. But the darkness fought back. The air in the necropolis felt charged, as if a storm was brewing just beyond the walls, and my heart hammered in my chest as I turned to face Ethan. He stood there, eyes glazed over, his fingers twitching against the worn pages of the tome. "Ethan, please, listen to us," I pleaded, stepping closer. "This isn't you. You have to fight it." "Fight it," he echoed, his voice a chilling mix of his own and something darker, deeper. "I am more than what I was. I can bring them back, Mia. All of them. The sacrifices, they were never supposed to be lost." He looked at me, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of the Ethan I knew. The one who laughed too loudly and joked about the absurdity of urban legends. But then that flicker was gone, replaced by an intense fervor that sent shivers down my spine. Lucas stepped in, positioning himself defensively between Ethan and me. "You're not thinking clearly, man. This place is messing with your head. We need to leave." He glanced around, the shadows seeming to close in around us. "We can't let whatever's in that book control you." Ethan raised a hand, dismissing Lucas's concerns. "You don't understand. The spirits, they're restless. They need closure, and I can give it to them. We can finish what was started." His voice rose, echoing off the stone walls, and I felt the energy shift, the atmosphere thickening with tension. "Ethan," I shouted, desperation creeping into my voice. "You're not a vessel for them. You're our friend. We need to break this cycle, not continue it." I felt an urgency to reach him, to pull him back from whatever abyss he had fallen into. Suddenly, the ground beneath us trembled, and a low rumble filled the chamber, as if the very structure of the necropolis was reacting to Ethan's declaration. Dust rained down from above, and I could hear the mournful wails of the spirits growing louder, their cries mixing with the rumbling of the earth. "Stay back," Ethan shouted, raising the tome as if it were a weapon. "I can feel their power. They want me to lead them. You don't know the truth." "What truth?" Lucas shouted back, his voice barely cutting through the cacophony. "What have you done? You're putting us all in danger. I'm freeing them." Ethan screamed, his face twisted in a mix of rage and desperation. "If you won't help me, then you're in my way," he began chanting from the tome. The words chanting from the tome, the words slithering through the Ethan, "Stop," I cried. And it was then I felt something deep within me stir, a connection to the spirits that I'd been brushing aside. I closed my eyes and focused, recalling the warmth of my childhood friend's spirit, the way she had reached out to me. If I could connect with her, perhaps I could reach Ethan too. "Ethan, listen to me," I called out again, this time with conviction. "The spirits don't want to be bound to you. They want peace. You have to let them go. You have to let go of this obsession." For a heartbeat, his chant faltered, and I saw a flicker of recognition in his eyes. "Mia, I can't." "Fight it," I urged, stepping forward, channeling every ounce of my will into my voice. "You're stronger than this. You're not just a pawn in their games." The necropolis shuddered violently, and I could feel the vibrations beneath my feet. Lucas moved closer to me, his expression a mix of fear and determination. "Mia, what are you doing? You can't just—" "I can," I interrupted, feeling a surge of energy as the spirits began to coalesce around us. Their forms shimmering in and out of focus. I could hear their whispers, their pleas for release mingling with Ethan's chants. "I'm connected to them. They're trying to tell me something." In that moment, I felt the weight of their sorrow, the burden of their unfinished business. I closed my eyes again, letting the energy flow through me. "Spirits of the lost, hear me. You are not forgotten. You deserve peace." Ethan's chanting grew more frantic, his body trembling as if caught in a violent storm. "No, you can't. You don't understand." His voice was a mixture of fury and anguish, and I could see the battle raging within him. Suddenly, the ground lurched, and a blinding light erupted from the tome. I shielded my eyes, feeling the power radiate like a supernova, threatening to engulf us all. "Ethan," I shouted, desperation creeping back into my voice. "You have to choose. Let them go." The moment hung in the air, suspended in time as the necropolis trembled around us. The walls began to crack, pieces of stone falling like rain. "Mia?" Ethan's voice was softer now, breaking through the chaos. "I don't want to lose them again." "You won't lose them," I cried, tears streaming down my face. "Let the past go. You can't resurrect the dead, you can only honor them by allowing them to rest." The light from the tome flickered, and for the first time, I saw doubt flash across Ethan's face. "But what if I can't?" "You can," I insisted. "You have the strength to break this cycle. You're not just a vessel, you're our friend. Fight for us, Ethan." With a primal scream, Ethan dropped the tome, and it fell to the ground with a resounding thud. The light flickered and dimmed, and the energy within the room shifted again, pulling away from him. I stepped forward, reaching for his hand, feeling the warmth of his skin against mine. "Together," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos around us. "We can break this. Together." The necropolis seemed to hold its breath as Ethan looked at me, and slowly I saw the fight leave his eyes. The shadows that had consumed him began to dissipate, and the spirits swirled around us, their cries of anguish transforming into whispers of hope. "Let them go, Ethan," Lucas urged, his voice firm. "You're stronger than this. You can do it." With a deep, shuddering breath, Ethan nodded, and I felt a warmth envelop us as the spirits surged forward, their energy merging with ours. "I'm sorry," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "I'm so sorry." As the last of the shadows lifted, I felt a rush of warmth and light. The necropolis trembled one final time, and I could hear the spirits as they found peace, their voices rising like a beautiful chorus, echoing through the chamber. The walls around us began to crumble, but we stood firm, united. "We're free," I gasped, feeling the weight of the past lift from my shoulders. In a final flash of brilliance, the necropolis collapsed around us, but we were no longer afraid. We stood together as the darkness fell away, and for the first time, I felt a glimmer of hope. The dust settled, and as the light faded, we found ourselves outside, the stars twinkling above us like a promise. Ethan looked at me, his eyes filled with gratitude and relief. "Thank you," he whispered. I smiled through my tears, knowing that we had broken the cycle. But deep down, the lingering question remained. Was it truly over, or did the shadows of the past still linger, waiting for another chance to rise?